Hello and welcome to Take Your Time, a Persona podcast in which we play Persona 3 Reload in real time along with the in-game calendar. My name is Jonathon Dornbush. I'm one of your hosts this week, joined, as always, by Tom Marks. Tom, how are you doing?
As always, but it almost didn't happen this week, did it?
It didn't. The scheduling on the back end, we don't have to lift the veil too much, has been it's a rough time of the year, folks, in San Francisco. Let me tell you, the weather's crazy, life is crazy.
Yeah, let me just paint this picture for everyone. This full moon was buck wild, and amidst it, what it caused was 100-degree heat wave for a week in my neighborhood at the exact same time that my 1-year-old got her first ear infection, at the exact same time that I had a fever that is still going. Like, it went away finally and then came back again. Like, it is, oh man, it's been a week in the life of Tom Marks, I will say.
It really has.
Shout out to a guy named Jonathon Dornbush for making this work, because we almost delayed this episode, and then I was feeling good enough and I got it done, and now he's having to edit it last minute. So I played later than I usually do this week, and also we're recording later than we usually, it's all very, I'm glad we're here.
I'm glad we're doing it, especially for this week. I think it was really hard because I didn't want to, obviously, I knew you were feeling bad, and I never want to, yeah. Life comes first and health comes first. But man, is there ever a week to get your, unvarnished immediate reactions. It is this week.
Yeah, literally I played the full moon an hour ago.
Yes, so you've barely had time to process the traumatic events of October 4th, as they are well known across the Persona fandom.
Much like the members of SEAS, I have not had any time to process this yet.
And that's really what life's all about. So we're going to get through processing it in real time over the course of this episode as we go through September 29th through October 5th. A free week of stuff and a full moon. I'll be honest, we're probably going to turbocharge through that beginning of the week, because the full moon is where we got stuff to talk about. So we're going to get there. But before we do, of course, we want to start off the show, as we do always, with our confidant call out, which is a huge thank you to everyone out there over at patreon.com/takeyourtime who is supporting us at the Palace Ruler tier, the highest tier that we offer. We're so grateful for everyone who is showing us love and support over there. The community has been wonderful throughout this whole process. But as always, a particular thank you to those at that Palace Ruler tier who are this week: Akechi is a Jelly Bean, Astral Clock Tower, Brody S, Cameron C, Claudia R, Dallas, Damon, Dan, Dan F, Danimal Lover 01, Default Titus, Dexter, I Kill Gods for Fun, which, yeah, you do in Persona pretty much, Caitlin E, Keegan H, Michael V, Philip S, Programmer Sid, Sam K, Sarah M, Shade, Willie Wang Wang, Zachary L, and of course, Metaphor out this Friday. Thank you for updating your name yet again. We appreciate it so much. And of course, we appreciate everyone out there supporting us at this tier. Thank you so much. We do this. We make sure we can scramble last minute because of all the support y'all are showing us. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who is supporting us over at patreon.com/takeyourtime. And speaking of, I think, the Patreon and just bonus episodes and all that stuff in general, just to get it out of the way. Obviously, we know, I think a lot of people want to hear us talk about Metaphor as it's coming out and all that sort of stuff. I do think our intentions are to use the bonus episode stuff this month, for Metaphor to some degree. We'll figure out what that is with timing and all that sort of stuff. I've sunk 10 hours into the demo already, if that tells you anything. So we will figure it out and keep y'all updated, but certainly from everyone on the Patreon, there's a clear interest in wanting to hear about Metaphor when I put out a Q&A call for the bonus episode, so we will be discussing it in some form.
You know, the demo, people have already been playing that. What I will say about this, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about our impressions of it. Don't wait to play it. We're not, at least in the immediate future, not going to be doing any sort of play along with that. And so don't wait for us. If you're excited for the game, go play. We're not going to be, just don't worry about that. But yeah, hopefully, thank you. I'm glad there was such a positive reaction to the Patreon for the bonus episode of us torturing ourselves with hot sauce. Something I totally forgot to do. Shout out to your fiance who did such a good job with the setup of that and the miking and everything. She's the unspoken third member of this show, because if you're a fan of the show's logos or intro music or any of that, she does all of that.
Yeah,
so,
she helps. She selects the music. She helps edit, the music that we find. She puts the visuals together. And yeah, she, when it turns out you love doing production stuff, it was funny. We both, because I love doing, production and putting stuff up. After you left, we both kind of were like, that was fun to be able to put a little shoot together like that.
Yeah,
like
nice.
the kind of madness of it. But I appreciate that,
Good.
and know she will too. But yeah, huge kudos to Meredith for putting all that together. But yeah.
Yeah. So we will have Metaphor-ish coming, but we're figuring it out, and it will probably be middle of the month because we're going to give people some time to play some of it.
Exactly. And to Tom's point, I think we can categorically say, though we'll cover it in some fashion, we are not starting a play along with it coming out, especially because the months wouldn't make any sense because the game, it doesn't start in October, so that wouldn't even work. But
yeah, I think it starts in June.
Sounds vaguely.
Right?
Yeah. June is when the demo kicks off. We're gonna play it. I think both of us can't help ourselves with where this game is at. But yeah, just to set expectations. But as Tom mentioned, we do have the hot sauce bonus episode up if you haven't already listened, as well as the first edition of our audio only sub-series of bonus episodes. I've currently titled them The Velvet Room. That might change. Who knows? I just put a name on it because I had to do something. But yeah, we'll continue to do those every month as well. So you can find those over at patreon.com/takeyourtime. If you're at the Member of Seas or Palace Ruler tier, you get those episodes as well as episodes early, ad-free, and so on and so forth. But yeah, before we jump into the week and just a couple of comments from last week's that I do think are worth pointing out, Tom, we had a pop quiz last week.
Yes, I asked you a question about Junpei, who made a comment about the typhoon and what he wished the typhoon did that got everyone, including himself, to be just speechless at his, let's say, brilliance. And I asked what that thing was, what he said. So did we get any fun guesses?
I believe we got the correct guess, if I'm not mistaken. But Sable wrote in and said, Junpei wished the typhoon would come back and send you into another cold coma so he could finally be the leader. That's
Close
right.
enough.
Junpei was the villain all along.
I'd wait for that. I would expect that twist.
Yeah, that's close enough to the correct answer.
No,
not at all. Yeah, go for it. What's the right answer?
The right answer is Junpei wishes the typhoon was on our side so that it could blow an entire ramen stand into a shadow and kill it. Which, I mean, what can you do besides be speechless?
Yeah. I can say pretty concretely that is not a strategy I had considered. And you've got to give him credit for that. That was not a thing anyone had put forth.
Yeah, that's fair. Thinking outside of the box.
Doesn't mean it's good, but
I just love how the idea of the typhoon being on our side in general is a very Junpei thought, but then B, specifically blowing a ramen stand into a shadow to kill it is just I love that boy.
It's wonderful. I do. It really personifies the typhoon, and I can't help but picture googly eyes and a mouth with like buff arms coming out of the typhoon as it approaches. Yeah. Wow.
And then I think I also half mentioned the movie with Shinji.
Oh yes, I don't know if we got any guesses there.
That was called From Paws to Whiskers, and the little thing that you get pops up when you're watching the movie with him was tiny animals fighting to survive with all their strength.
This game loves its tiny animal jokes.
It does.
I respect it.
There you go. That's all I got.
Well, thank you for those, Tom. And also thank you to everyone who wrote in. We did have some comments from last week that I just briefly want to cover because I do appreciate it and think it's a nice little thing that maybe perhaps you had not realized, Tom. But both Q Euretic wrote in with this as a fun fact, and Claudia wrote in with this as a surprise for them because them listening to the show made them realize. I'll read from their point of view. Usually a silent listener, but had to comment because this is how I find out the September 24th scene I experienced was incomplete. I had Yuko and Chihiro at rank 4 at this point, so I did not get this scene with them in it and all that.
Oh.
Time to look it up. And they said I did not get the scene. I don't know. I guess let me know if you got any bit of the scene. But Q, said they will only show up if you progress their social links at least to rank 5. Because that's the rank for the romance flag to start.
So it does specifically happen if it makes sense if you have if you're going that way with these people. Interesting. I dig that.
So just wanted to mention that because I do think it's a fun little thing. And we, to be fair, brushed over it because that's been my experience, I think, both playthroughs. So I didn't even kind of factor that in.
Yeah.
But without further ado.
Yes.
Let us get to, I would say, one of the most dramatic weeks of this game so far, if not the most.
Yeah, I would say so.
Just a little bit. And that's because we have 5 days of free time, you guys. And I'm so excited by what we get. No, I do think, very transparently, we're going to kind of rush through those personally because I just want to get to.
There's a dramatic reveal this week, too, which is that I haven't been watching the videos in the command room, and I had 5 of them to watch, and I didn't realize it.
Oh, man, yeah. There is that reminder, I think, at some point where isn't it Fuka or someone's like, oh, yeah, the computer's still broken. It's not. It's fine. Don't worry.
I guess I've just missed the ones for the last, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And there's 3 from September alone. It's wild.
It's a lot.
I know this week is going to be crazy, but I do want to talk about some of those.
No, I think it's worth it. So we'll get to them. When you watch them, let me know and we can jump in there.
Day 1.
All right, fair enough. Well, let us start with September 29th. This is a free day. This is, to the point I was just making, the day Fuka mentions there's a malfunction. So before we get there, give me your day and night, just what you did.
My day was Bebe. I got Bebe up to rank... I got Bebe up to rank 5, and that was a nice little scene. I'm sort of scattershot hanging out with the people I can right now. And then in the evening, I gardened with Fuka. And so that was, I think, the first time I've gardened with her so far. And also, a weird little cool thing that happened with that is that I got a social rank point with her. Because I actually have her on my social link list now, and I wasn't expecting that. If you hang out with the people you actually have social links with on your team, you get social points for it. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little hack if you're in between levels with them and you do have a social link. You get multiple bonuses. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I hung out also with Bebe, got him to rank 9, and then
congratulations.
Thank you. And then in the evening, I did the Sage brain training on the computer because I just wanted to make sure my academics were in a pretty good place as we get toward exams later this month.
Yeah. I said last week I said I was going to try to focus academics, and then I did not do any academics this week. So
that's fine. That's fair. The other stuff happens, so I don't blame you.
Yes.
But yes, as you mentioned, Fuka mentions there's a malfunction going on. I will also say, if you talk to Junpei, there is a little fun bit about how the old lady at the hospital, basically, I think like the attendant or receptionist, is ruining Junpei's flirting game, which is very cute.
Yes. Yeah.
You get a little bit of the picture there. But yes, we do get a lot of videos in the observation room. We
can go through these ones we haven't talked about pretty fast, but we did have 5 we didn't talk about yet, I think, because the last one we talked about, I believe, was the June one where Mitsuru busts into Junpei's room with a cop.
Yes.
Looking for him because she thinks he's been kidnapped.
If you have a list up, you start things off just because I don't have these directly down in my notes.
Dude, so there's the July 15th video of Fuka trying on swimsuits. And then she puts on the lap band thing to slim her waist, and it tickles her, and she can't stop laughing. And this whole scene is just like the most fan servicey bullshit you've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah.
Amusing-ish, but it's also very weird. It is an exceptionally weird... It's one of those scenes that makes the cameras in their room immediately uncomfortable in a very real way.
That's very fair. I mean, at their base, it's uncomfortable, but yeah, when that's like one of the few videos you get access to, it's like, we can just delete that one off the hard drive, my guys.
It's also annoying because, again, I like these videos of your rooms as like a way to give you a little more insight into each character. That's actually kind of fun. But the fact that Fuka's is just this is so not relevant or interesting to her character. It's the same problem I have, and I hang out with her a couple times this week, so I can just mention this right now without spoiling the social link line. It is so disappointing to me that Fuka's social link line is all about her learning to cook. It just doesn't feel relevant to her character in a very real way, and it feels like a waste. It just feels like a waste of this very interesting character to me.
I've finished that one to the end, so we can talk about that when we get there, but I totally get where you're coming from on that. Yeah.
I like Fuka so much. I wish that they gave her more things that focused on like how smart and she is and how she's different in a very interesting way, and instead they're just giving her the homely lady things and trying on swimsuit. I don't know. It's odd, especially because that's like literally her social link line is also Yukari's cooking line of not knowing how to cook and then trying to get back. They're identical.
Exactly.
So I don't get it.
Yeah, especially when you look at the idea that Fuka was also presented to us as this person who I think has a very self-assured understanding that they have gone through some not great stuff and they have found a place that they can feel a little bit more themselves. They can feel happier. They're working through that. So we are seeing what is a very emotionally intelligent and rich character.
Right.
And then, yeah, it's about cooking. So
anyway, fan service bathing suit one. Then you get this August 18th video of Akihiko mad that he wasn't able to beat Junpei at pickup lines on the beach. So he's just practicing pickup lines, which again is sort of like, it gives you a little bit of insight into Akihiko as a character, but they really spend a lot of time talking about that 3-day beach trip or revisiting that 3-day beach trip that both you and I, when we talked about it on the show, were like, this was weird. And they just keep bringing it up again and again.
Well, think about it. I will say it is some of the 3 most different days in their lives that they have had in the context of this game.
That is fair. That is fair. Then you get 3 in September. So there's a September 6th one that's exceptionally cute and now makes me sad in retrospect, with Shinji watching a cooking show and Koromaru. God, I'm glad I didn't find this one a week later. Oh my lord.
Oh yeah.
Koromaru is watching it with him, and then Fuka and Aigis come home, and Shinji puts a magazine over his face and pretends he's asleep so that he doesn't get caught watching a cooking show. Fuka asks Koro if he's asleep, and he's like, no, Shinji is not asleep. And fully rats him out because Aigis can talk to dogs.
It's so cute. Yeah.
It's exactly what I want from these scenes. You know, it's just a little bit of insight into who these people are, a little bit of fun, lighthearted moments that are ancillary.
It shows us they have lives together.
Yeah. The September 20th video is of you in bed, and Aigis breaks into your room. But then she does it to check to make sure your fever is okay, because when you're sick, and she crouches down and watches you sleep for a few hours to make sure you're safe, which is actually very endearing to me.
Yeah, I do like the sweetness here of showing us a little bit of that window and getting a sense of, I think with anyone else it might feel a little creepy, but it's because Aigis doesn't understand human boundaries that it works.
And her directive is explicitly just to be by your side and protect you. So it's not weird that a robot wants to do that.
Exactly.
Especially when you are sick. So yeah, I thought that one was very cute. And then the last one is of September 25th. So it's like 2 days ago of Mitsuru, or 3 days, or 4 days ago, of Mitsuru in her extremely fancy room with a couch and multiple armchairs and a coffee table and all sorts of fancy stuff. Again, extremely fan servicey, her coming out in nothing but a bath towel, and then shopping from a shopping magazine for a bit, and it's just, I kind of don't even remember anything from this scene. It was just her shopping for clothes.
You really see a gulf in the terms of what the focus was for some of the characters versus others, and
seriously.
Like it's almost surprising that it's made optional, because I like that sort of stuff does get just so integrated into a lot of products, but yeah, those are not my favorite scenes by any stretch. It's
of this stretch, the Koryo Shinji scene is top notch.
It's fantastic.
And the others are weird.
No, I think that scene, the Junpei scene that we saw previously, is really cute.
The Junpei one is great.
Is cute-ish, but I think those two are my favorite in terms of just the level of character expression we get out of them.
Yeah, totally. So I missed all of those, and I'm sorry we haven't talked about them. I'll try to make sure I don't miss them again.
All good. I didn't want to press you on those because they are ancillary to some extent, but I'm glad you were able to catch up when you did. So yeah, we, as you die. We can move on to the next day, September 30th. This is, as we're approaching the end of the month, we get Junpei asking us how we're doing in the morning. He's in such high spirits.
He's fired up. He's ready to go.
Yeah, which obviously I like this in retrospect to where the week goes, because this dude is like, I'm on top of the world. My gal likes me. I'm taking charge. We're going to kick butt. We're going to destroy all the shadows. Nothing can knock us down, my guy. We're set. If only he knew. And you get that. Obviously, it's also a change from how dark he's kind of been for a while too, which is nice to see. But then we get into just a straight free day again. So again, hit me with your day and evening.
I got Odagiri to 8, and I think I did this because I could have hung out with Chihiro or Yukari, and neither of them were going to get a level, so I just didn't hang out with either of them.
Gotcha.
And then in the evening, I read with Igus, and that was my second time reading with Igus.
Nice. I hung out with Yukari to get her to rank 2, and then I went to finish up Tartarus because I realized I still had people to save and hadn't gone back yet, so just cleared a couple extra floors that I had going on and finished that one up.
Cool. They don't do a last minute, hey, here's one more person in this one, which, let me tell you, a feverish Tom was very glad about.
I could understand. I also respect anyone. I again, play games how you want to. If you're having fun, that's all that matters. But especially if you feel like, hey, I kind of want to look up a guide to see when those get called in because it's annoying if it's a surprise. Good on you. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you one bit either.
No, not at all. Moving to October 1st, though, the spooky month begins, and we get a few people chatting about winter outfits.
Just rubbing it in on a 100-degree day for me. This is one of those times where, we've talked a lot about when it synchronizes, it's so fun. When they're talking about how it's cold out and you have to wear your coat to school now and it's 100 degrees out, it is not. It just feels like salt in the wound.
Yeah, and lest anyone say like, oh, but they're in San Francisco. It's cool there. The weather never gets bad. This is genuinely the hottest October days in 28 years.
Yeah.
So,
also, I'm not in San Francisco. I'm south of San Francisco, and the difference between San Francisco heat or weather and 2 minutes outside of it is astronomical. It's insane.
Is wild. I used to live in Daly City, and just literally right next to each other. And it's like Daly City, it could be freezing cold and foggy and gross, and then you get into SF proper, and you're sweating like it's the middle of summer. It's wild.
Yeah.
The microclimates are real. But yeah, we get that.
I always love an outfit change. So
yes.
I'm glad to see this.
Absolutely. So they're talking about that, plus just hearing voices and getting headaches. I'm sure that's fine and nothing to worry about whatsoever. You get to stay awake in class or not. I assume you did because we're getting close to exams. Cool.
Learning about Masamune. It's so funny to me that this guy has been so excited to talk about samurais. This is the samurai teacher. And he gets like 1 or 2 lines for this entire Masamune lesson, and yet Edogawa just gets to go. I would love to know what the scriptwriters for this game, why they chose to prioritize one thing over the other here, because they both feel semi-relevant to me, and I don't know. I'm not complaining. It's fine. It's just so funny, the contrast of how few lines this guy, who's been so excited to talk about this subject, finally gets, yet Edogawa just gets to go.
It feels very Charlie Brown of like giving him the football and just taking it away from him.
Yeah.
So you have that little opportunity to get some academics during the day and then a free day and night again. So hit me with your day and evening.
I got Haraga to 3.
Cool.
Which also tripped me up because they mentioned a Bay Area art contest with Bay Area capitalized, and that is where I live, and I was confused. So that was that. And then I got Mutatsu to 9. So I'm getting close on my last evening confidant right now.
Very nice. I hung out with Yukari, got her to rank 3, and then 8 at Wakatsu because it was the night where you can get a little bit extra academic-wise. So
cool.
You go into October 2nd, and nothing happens. This is we just go straight into free time. It is a day and a night, nothing. So what did you do?
We're in full get to the full moon mode, right?
Oh, yeah. The game is like, we're getting near some story stuff. Let's just get you there.
So I did Fuka to rank 5. We already talked about her earlier. and then I read with Aegis, and I got the 3rd level of Aegis, or the 3rd book reading with Aegis, so I got her extra ability that just strengthens physical skills or whatever. So, yeah.
Amazing. Cool.
There's also a funny line in this conversation. This is where she started talking about how she wants to change her appearance to appear more intimidating to enemies, to be more effective.
Yeah.
But then after you're done reading, she says that she's like, oh, we can't go to Tartarus right now, I guess, because it's gotten too late. But isn't that explicitly when you can go to Tartarus? Isn't that the only time you can go to Tartarus is when it's gotten too late?
You should want to go when you can go, which is midnight. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they read until 1 a.m.
Again, the dark hour is convenient when it needs to be. That's the lesson that we've learned here. But yeah, that was, okay, that was your day and night. I got Fuka to rank 2 and then ate at Wakatsu again. Keeping it simple.
All right.
Because I knew
to get to that 6.
I knew what was coming. October 3rd, we get Aegis in the morning mentioning that the lost are growing in number. Obviously, we're right at a full moon, so that makes sense. And we get another chance to stay awake in class. Obviously, the game is starting to put on the, hey, you should really be getting your academics up. We got some stuff going on.
Yeah, this is the first time I think we explicitly get told exams are in 10 days. So we know about that a little more now.
I do believe if you look on the calendar in your room, though, you can see the exam dates further out. So
it's listed on the calendar, but this is the first time a game character has pointed it out to you.
Yes, very true. And then we get into, I believe, just a day and a night. So what did you do?
I had a mirror day. Oh no, not quite. I had a close to mirror day for the last 2, which is I got Fuka to 6. And then I got Mutatsu maxed out, so I finished Mutatsu.
Nice. I really was hoping you were going to have spent the night with Shinji, but that's all right.
No. He does have a line, if you talk to him, I think either tonight or the night before, where he literally says, don't rely on me.
Yep.
He's like, don't get used to me helping you. Don't rely on me too much. And it's like, whoa. Oh, man.
My heart. We'll get there. I took Elizabeth out.
I also totally didn't buy him a bunch of equipment today.
Oh, I'm so happy you did, because that's what I did my first time too. Mm-hmm. It's been so hard because we'll get there tomorrow. But you've been doing exactly what I did. Yeah.
Here, let's have the disrespectful talk first, so that we could get to this. Thank God I didn't, because I was looking at Mjolnir in the antique store. Mm-hmm. That super high power, incredibly hard to get weapon where I would have had to go get some fusion things and level a dude up. And I was like, man, maybe I should just try to do that for a minute so that before I go into this boss fight, is that just a misdirect? Is there even a way to get that?
I never went for it. I don't know if you can get it. I will say, like, it doesn't stop you from doing all this stuff for Shinji. So I wouldn't be surprised if you can do it. We'll get there. I took Elizabeth out. We went to the school. Yes.
I can do that, but I didn't do it this week because I was just like, I don't have time right now in my brain.
No, that's fair.
So we can talk about that next week, potentially.
Perfect, yeah. Just mentioning that I did it. And then I hung out with Yukari. I blazed through the text, so I thought I was going to get a rank up, but I didn't. I just got some points. But I was like, you know what? It's the day before the thing. It's fine, whatever. I'll just keep going.
Sure.
And then I watched a DVD with Sonata to get him a new ability.
Nice.
And then October 4th.
Yeah.
You have to stay home.
Let's talk about the thing everyone wants to hear my reaction to. That shadow fight, eh?
I mean, I do want to hear your thoughts about that shadow fight because it is actually one of the more unique fights we've had. That's the wild thing is that this also, despite being such a story-heavy night, also has one of the better, I would say, probably big shadow fights in terms of, like, intriguing hook to it.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
Yeah.
Let's go in order.
Yeah, of course. So it cuts right to the dark hour. Nothing else happens this day. We get everyone in the meeting room. We kind of learn that we're going to be going toward Iwatodai Station. Of course, no one wants 2 shadows again. We're just really hoping that doesn't happen. So, of course, Fuka finds 2 shadows are hanging out there.
And there's some hinting at that, right? Because
throughout the week. Yeah.
Yeah, if you talk to Aki, he's like, I bet there'll be 2 this time.
Yeah, there's definitely a, hey, you should be pretty well leveled for this one. Though, we'll talk about that when we get there. Shinji is not joining us. We think he's going to join us later, but it's unclear why. We don't really know what's going on. Ken is also missing. He wasn't in his room. Shinji's late as we arrive to Iwa Todai Station, so they're both out of the picture, and we're just like, we need to hurry and get this over with before these shadows haven't done whatever they're going to do. So we should just take them out because we found them so early. That is kind of the,
right.
Let's keep going.
And there's like they're on your path to school, and there's a mention of it's like they're waiting for us.
Exactly. We jump into this double boss fight of the strength and fortune arcana. So essentially the way this fight works is it's kind of one then the other. You fight the strength one first.
You fight strength first, which is this really cool design of this woman in a white dress with the fence around her, like a gardener pretty much.
Yeah.
And has flowers that she has around her. It is very not what I would have imagined them to do with the strength persona. Like the fortune persona that's next to her is really on the nose. It's just the top of a roulette machine, which I think is really cute. It's a really cute little mechanical dog design or whatever it is. And yeah, but it is also exceptionally straightforward. Whereas strength is pretty neat. It's a pretty neat little boss design for sure.
Yeah, it's a very cool one. It's a pretty tough boss as well.
Yeah, a lot of health.
Yeah, a lot of health, can hit pretty hard. The two of them are kind of working in tandem. As you're whittling down strength, fortune will have its turn where it can essentially spin a roulette wheel. There are some good, some bad options. I do believe these are randomized because I think I've had different ones each time. Some things will buff everyone. Some things will debuff everyone, both your side and them. So it is...
Yeah. It's either the blues, right? And the blues are always a positive thing to both sides, and the reds are always a negative thing to both sides. I did get hit with a 300 damage to everyone thing.
Me too.
And amazingly... had enough health on everyone that no one died.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow.
But from that point on, I was looking at my party being like, okay, if any of them are ever under 300, I should probably just heal because there's a chance that could come up again.
Exactly. And so it's a tough one there too, because I think you don't know if the boss is going to be super powered. So my focus was really on debuffing them and buffing our team as much as possible, really maintaining all the abilities there, because you really need that to take them down in a good time. I had Mitsuru, Yukari, and Aki. Who did you end up bringing?
I had Yukari Koromaru, and instead of Shinji, who I was going to use, Akihiko. Which ultimately was a good thing because the strength boss is completely resistant to physical and actually repels like smash attacks.
Yes.
So if I had Shinji, he wouldn't have been able to do anything against that fight pretty much. So yeah, it was sort of just that enemy. I think it's an interesting boss fight because the actual thing you're doing is not wildly complex. It is basically just a bullet sponge or a health sponge. Just whittle this thing down and then you can kill Fortune. But what's going on and the unexpected nature of the roulette is fun. Trying to plan around the debuffs it gives you or keep your health topped up. That all is entertaining and I really liked that, even if strength itself is essentially just, hey, hit it a lot.
No, totally. To your point of this being a sponge, I think the additive nature of the roulette makes a sponge fight more fun, because those can really be boring to just kind of take your time with. And you do all of that, you're whittling it down, you eventually knock it out. Now you can finally attack Fortune. Regardless of where you get it, Fortune gets one final attack to do its roulette wheel. And it lands on the death token, basically.
Right. So that's scripted. It always does that?
It always does that, because nothing happened in the battle. But it does happen later. And I didn't think about it on my first time through after it happened. I completely wasn't thinking about the boss fight. And then I was playing it this time and I saw that happen. And I was like, damn it, damn it, damn it. I can't stop it. I can't stop anything. And you finish the fight, and it's like, hoorah, we did it. It's great. Wonderful. We did all this stuff.
Fun fact also,
Yeah.
Fortune is resistant to all magical damage, but weak specifically to Akihiko.
Yes.
Electric and punch. So
It's helpful to
another
have.
little... I like the little... I love when the game does that because it does... It's really small, but it is narratively interesting.
Yes.
That they very specifically make the persona or the shadow that is in the context of the game responsible for Shinji's death or whatever specifically weak to Akihiko, and the idea that like he could have been the one to save him is sort of the implication there, even though it's really just there. I don't know. It's very, very small, but I love that they take the time to put those little mechanical tie-ins to story there.
Absolutely. No, it works really well here because you finish the fight, and to that point, Ken and Shinji never showed. Yep. Fuka can't quite locate them at the time, so we kind of plan to go back to the dorm. But then Akihiko realizes it's October 4th, so he needs to go look for Shinji and runs off.
Yeah, they say that the chairman even already headed home too, is a line which I noticed.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, it's fine. We really cleaned up here today. So he's out. Right. Akihiko runs away. And we approach the event. We get to Shinji coming up to Ken in that back alleyway that we've... Yes.
Before we get here, I do want to point out, you asked me what I thought was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
I think last week. And my prediction was largely wrong, but structurally correct, I think is the way I would explain it, right?
Yes.
Where I said... Oh, okay.
No, you keep going.
I think basically what I predicted was going to happen was the actual shadow was going to be sort of not related to any story stuff, and Strega was not going to interfere with that, but they were going to do something else elsewhere to mess with the team. And my prediction was that was going to be freeing Chidori or trying to steal her evoker back. And it ended up not being about Chidori at all. It was all about this other stuff, but that was structurally largely what happened.
Yes.
Or what I thought was going to happen, right? Of the shadow is just going to be a shadow fight, and then there will be story stuff with Strega elsewhere.
Yeah. It just happens very differently. And you have
been... Yes, it happened very differently than I thought it was going to, or was expecting.
You have been very on the money of talking about Ken and Shinji and their relationship.
Yeah, the relationship that is revealed here is that was exactly what I assumed was the case.
Yes. Right? So to go through it, Ken and Shinji, we get to them in this alleyway where we have often encountered Shinji, where kind of the seedy back alley part of Iwatodai happens, or just on this Tatsumi port island. They agreed to show up here is what we learn, I think is very important just to mention. Kenji Tomochiko shows up and is like, hey guys, there's a new teacher that I got the hots for. Ken starts talking.
This is a serious moment, Jonathan.
Yeah, I need to deal with it with laughter. That's the only way I know how to deal with this, Tom.
Fair enough.
Ken starts talking about how 2 years ago his mom died right here, but that it wasn't a car accident. He's known that for that whole time, that it was in fact Shinji who killed his mom. Is what he claims happened. He's been miserable ever since, kind of not understanding what the point of life is. He's even contemplated killing himself as a result of it, but he vowed that he should live until he at least found and could deal with her killer. And so today is that day. His mom is with him. He's going to kill Shinji, and Shinji tells him, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do it.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
This is the one part of this story I was not expecting. And Mitsuru sort of explains more exactly what happens in this next scene.
Yes.
But the part I was expecting, or the part I was not expecting, Shinji blaming himself, Ken wanting revenge, him being responsible for his mother's death, all that I assumed it was parents' death, but mother, yeah.
Sure.
The one part I was not expecting is I assumed it was going to be more of a misunderstanding.
Mm.
I assumed Shinji would be responsible for his mother's death, but it would have been like she was evil, or like, he did something that inexplicably caused her to die nearby because he blew up a building like that a shadow was on, or something a little bit more removed.
Yeah.
But it was just straight up he lost control of his persona and it killed her, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It was very direct, which is not I was expecting that to be partly the case. I was not expecting it to be quite so exact.
Which I do like, because I think there is a world where you see a story like this and it kind of is like, it'll let that character off the hook so you feel a little bit... And obviously, to some extent, Shinji didn't tell his persona to go kill Ken's mom.
No. It's not... Yeah, the persona went out of control, right? Yeah.
It's no, and I do really like that layer to it. But to your point, we then cut back, before we get more of that scene, to the gang back at base. Mitsuru realizes the date at that point and realizes we need to track them down, and begins to tell everyone kind of what happened. She says, and I do like this, that she says they were the ones responsible. She does kind of take a holistic claim to blame here. She says they were hunting a shadow. Shinji had just awakened his persona and had lost control at that time. It went a little chaotic and killed Ken's mom. So the gang realizes like they should rush to get there because someone else is on the scene. Strega. I do like that Fuka's like, Strega is there, not Takaya. Strega.
Yeah.
We start to get a little bit more of the emotional unraveling here and understanding of things. This moment, this event, is why Shinji left everything behind. He's always ends back up here, though. He's kind of talking and reflecting upon his life. He realizes this is why he's always brought back to this place. He was always hanging back in this alleyway, if you've noticed in cutscenes. So he believes he deserves this. He gets it. He's not afraid or misunderstanding of where Ken's coming from. But he does warn Ken that if he takes Shinji's life, he'll end up just like him, haunted by this. He'll regret it. He'll live with that burden his whole life. And Ken gets really, really mad about that. And as he's getting upset, Takaya comes and goes, yeah, I agree. But like, let's do this revenge. Let's get into it. I'm really into you getting this revenge.
Yeah, Takaya is basically like, yeah, don't have a murder on your soul. Let me do the murder.
Yeah, he's happy to do the killing here. He is, and it takes Ken a little aback, I think.
Yeah,
being faced with this.
This is also, I think, it's really sad. Shinji, I don't know. It is very painful that Shinji, blames himself so severely, and also doesn't, like you said, the game doesn't really let him off the hook with the events. He just blames himself, and you as a viewer can't really be like, well, it wasn't really his fault. Like, it kind of wasn't, but, it is understandable to him that he would be he would have a lot of self-loathing over what he did, right? Yes. I'm not encouraging it. It's just his point of view of how he's handled it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, and
to me as a viewer.
And I think what you're getting a little bit here is also the idea of when you have maybe done a bad thing, even if some of those circumstances are outside of your control, or if there's a negative thing in your life, how you choose to go on with that is all you can do. Like he is very much come to terms with, there is nothing I can do to go back and change what occurred. And I have to live with that. And he's kind of telling Ken to a certain degree, look, I just carried it with me and I did let it take me away from everything. You can do what you're going to do. It's going to do the same thing to you.
Right. Yeah. It is very noble that he, in his final moments, essentially, is not trying to plead for his life. He's pleading for Ken's.
Exactly.
And then we get that more explicitly later.
Yeah. So Takaya takes out his gun that he's always just happy to point, and
his gun.
This poorly holstered gun. He takes it out. He says, this life is but a stepping stone. So to him, obviously we know kind of life and death. It's whatever to a certain degree. But he's talking about all this, and he points his gun, and Shinji steps in front of Ken to protect him. He wants to make sure Ken does not get harmed here. And Takaya doesn't care because he knows Shinji is fated to die. We've obviously been hearing this from Shinji earlier.
Well, but the interesting thing is that you hear that from Shinji in an optional conversation line.
Yeah.
So if you didn't do that conversation line, you would know he would be taking the pills from the main storyline. But this would be the time that you find out that he's about to die.
That's very true.
Having done that already, maybe I saw this coming a little bit more because I knew he was... Like, maybe this would be more of a shock if he hadn't already told me in an optional storyline that he was going to die.
For sure. But certainly not in this way was not the expectation.
Yes.
So Ken is mad about this revelation to your point, this is the first time he's hearing that. So he's like, oh, great, Shinji was going to die no matter what I did. So then what's the point of all this? What was the point of me harboring this anger, getting ready to kill this guy, if it wasn't going to actually make a meaningful difference, if it wasn't going to punish him the way he hoped it would? And which is a really, really stressful thing for a little child to have to contemplate.
Yeah.
But you do get Takaya saying the cause of death isn't what matters. He knows about, like, kind of Ken wanting to kill himself after this anyway. Do enjoy that this is one of the few times the game drops the F-bomb. Shinji curses at him. And
Shinji's also really shocked by that revelation.
Yes.
Of Tatsuya being like, oh, yeah, Ken, you were going to kill yourself after this anyway. And Ken is kind of ashamed almost. And Shinji's pretty horrified by that fact. I mean, it's a really horrific thing. Like, it's the type of event where if you put this into the real world and remove the fantastical elements, it would be an absolute horrifying tragedy, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, this is, by all accounts, on all sides, just horrible revelation after another coming at us with these things. And
with a spear.
Yes. Nonetheless. Yeah. Like,
that's neither here nor there.
What a dramatic fashion. But no, you're getting this, the temperature is rising in the room. People are getting more frustrated by the idea of what all these killings will be worth. And Takaya just shoots Shinji. And he falls to the ground hurt, not dead at that point.
Right.
And Takaya
because Shinji's a badass and can take one bullet.
Exactly. Yeah. I've watched Supernatural. I've seen Sam and Dean take a few bullets in their day against the forces of evil. Takaya asks Shinji, or should I say more correctly, one of my favorite things is in Fast and Furious. Sometimes when they're taking bullets out of themselves, it's like nothing. It's like they got a little scratch.
But those guys are literal superheroes.
That's fair. Yeah, they do jump out of buildings and land on cars safely. He's done this, and he's still trying to get information from Shinji. Takaya is asking Shinji if the group has their own navigator, like how are they finding them and doing all this.
This is really an interesting part of it to me. This is the most interesting part of Takaya to me in this whole conversation, is that we find out what he wants, why he is even here. Which is that he knows that they have, or he assumes they have a navigator like Chidori is to them, and is there to exact revenge by taking their navigator away from the group in the way that they took Chidori away. But he's going to do it just with a gun.
Which is a fun paradigm shift from his whole, like, life and death and the nature of all these things. No, he's here because he wants something. He is craving and wants to keep his power, and he is trying to find a way to do that here. And so he keeps pushing and kicking Shinji, demanding an answer. And out of nowhere, Ken claims to be that navigator.
Right. Shinji tries to say they don't have one, and then Ken steps up and says, no, it's me.
Yeah, he almost blows it, but Takaya is like consumed by this truth. He is so enamored with the idea that the navigator is standing right in front of him. And Takaya, Ken even says, like, why even bother fighting anything if I'm not going to get the revenge I wanted? So, I'm the navigator, blah, blah, blah. And Takaya says he accepts salvation and is about to shoot Kenji, but Shinji runs in front of him and takes the bullet again.
Yeah. It's very poetic.
Yeah.
And sad.
Takaya doesn't quite understand what's happening here. It's obviously a bit of a shock, but the gang appears down the alleyway. They're coming in from sort of the train station area, and he slinks away into the shadows because he realizes he's outnumbered, which is slimy, man.
It's a really good cutscene. This whole scene is just very emotive and great.
Yes, yeah, no, the animation
Why'd
work here...
Akihiko take so long to get there? Come on, man.
The animation work, the performances here, all of it's really, really good, and so we're getting this proper cutscene where he leaves, he's getting out of the way. The gang comes and surrounds Shinji. He's bleeding out. Akihiko is holding him. Koromaru touches his hand and like nuzzles it. And he tells Ken to hold on to his anger and let it be his strength. That he's got his whole life ahead of him, but now he's going to have to live for himself.
Yeah, even in his last moment, he's trying to help the kid whose life he is sure he ruined, right?
Yes, and who was just about to try to take his. And if you didn't love Shinji already.
Yeah.
Koromaru howls with Ken as Ken cries out into the night as Shinji dies properly, and the dark hour comes to an end. And as we learned that night, no one spoke a word.
Yeah. It's a very powerful scene. I'm a little torn on the expectation of it because I 100% knew Shinji was dying in this video game, right? I just thought it would be a little later. I thought it would be not in this way. I thought it would be in the dark hour, in Tartarus in some way, fighting a shadow. He would sacrifice himself. I knew there was going to be he sacrifices himself for the team something.
Sure.
Him sacrificing himself for Ken is really sad and really poetic and sort of the best thing that could happen for him in a weird way. Yeah, so I don't want to undersell any of that. I think all of that worked really well and was very tragic and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
My only nagging complaint through all of that is the same complaint I've had for a while, which is just that Takaya has a gun. He is a dude with a gun against a bunch of high school kids, and when the kids show up, the kids he explicitly wants to sabotage, he walks away instead of just shooting a bunch of children. I don't know. That's the only part of this that makes it feel disingenuous to me.
Sure.
Is I get him monologuing and not killing Shinji and Ken quickly. That I all understand. But the idea that he had to wait for this specific moment when he could just be... he's just taken so long. He's been very explicit about what he wants and what they're at odds with. And he's just taken so long to do anything about it. And so that is the only part of this I don't like. The Shinji Ken stuff I think is great.
Yeah.
The Takaya stuff, I'm just like, dude, what are you... If this is your motivation, why are you just walking away?
No,
why
that's
are
fair.
you not
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only part that I'm annoyed by.
No, I totally get that. I would say what's interesting to me, and I do want to talk about some other elements of this too, but I think if I had to, because I genuinely haven't really thought about the Takaya of it all of the scene, because now having experienced this twice, it is the emotional, to your point of I knew Shinji was going to die. I kind of assumed it was going to be the climax of the game and the final boss fight. He saves himself because it doesn't matter anyway. And he's just you guys do this without me sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is the expectation. But
yeah, I complained about, having bought him equipment, yada, yada, yada. I think it is wonderfully subversive to kill a character in the middle of a game. I think that is, it is not a thing I am ever mad about for a game developer to say, we're willing to shake up what you're expecting out of... Because the trope is that your party is sacred and it's not going to die once they join you, they're yours, right?
Yeah. Or if they do, it's at a point where it doesn't matter to your play. Yeah.
Yes. So the idea that a character can be killed in the middle of it, especially in such a poignant, touching, tragic way that has implications for Ken's future, I really, really, I think that is story-wise and game structure-wise great. I'm very glad they didn't wait till the very end to have him die, because I think this is a substantially more interesting choice. I'm fully on your side there.
No, absolutely. I totally get where you're coming from, though, on the Takaya side. I do think it's hard knowing his full arc, obviously, and not wanting to say too much there. I do think I think maybe we're seeing in general with Strega, and I think the scene maybe illustrates it a little bit specifically with the idea of how on the back foot he is to some degree, because he doesn't even know if they have a navigator. He doesn't.
Sure, that's true. That's fair.
While we know they've been spying, they clearly have only gotten so much intel, especially now that Chidori is out of the situation. And so I think you're seeing someone who recognizes his opponent has power and is afraid of overstepping there. That said, I don't think you're wrong in the sense of man, it took this guy so long to make a move that really mattered.
Here's a good way to symbolize it.
Yeah.
That we can also transition into the last day of this.
Yeah.
This week. The day ends saying nobody talked, but it also says a little line from you talking to yourself going, a dear friend's life has been claimed in a manner I never could have imagined. And I had a moment where I was like, that man with a gun told you he was going to fight you now. A man with a gun walked up to you and said, hey, we're having irreconcilable differences and I'm going to have to take you on. And you're like, my friend was shot. I never could have seen this coming. Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, he never could have seen
That's
it
the only
happening.
part of it.
Yeah.
That is the only part of this that I have a disconnect with. Is
No, I
like,
get
he
that.
wears it in the front of his belt. It is not subtle in any way. I don't know. That's the only part of this I have a problem with.
No,
I
get
loved
that.
the scene overall. It is heartbreaking. It is one of the few scenes I've seen in a game, or especially an RPG like this, that is unrepentantly dark. Right?
Yes.
It is, except for Shinji trying to help Ken, there is not a shred of light in this, and that's good. Right? It really makes this a tragedy.
Yeah.
It is not, they don't get anything out of this, you know? He sacrificed himself, but they didn't sacrifice themselves to save the day. It's just a different person died, and that is really heartbreaking.
No, absolutely. It's weird to say I love this scene so much, but I hate this scene so much. Like I think it is so well done and is such a tribute to this character who, as we've talked about these last few weeks, really quickly, he's so good. He so easily becomes a favorite party member for, I think, not just you or me, but a lot of people. A very funny thing that I'm glad you never asked me about is, but obviously my playthrough right now, no offense to the guy, I love him, but I have trophies to get. I didn't hang out with him at all. I never used him in my party. And never once did you be like, oh, I'm the only one hanging out with Shinji. This sucks. And I was like, thank God that went on unchecked. But that's what I did my first playthrough too. I was like, this dude is interesting. I'm going to do his side story. I'm going to put him in my party. I'm going to level him up. And it takes it away from you. And I'm glad it does, because it works. I'm not mad at the game for doing that. I think it works so well.
In not much time.
Yeah.
He's not in your party long.
No. Which also makes it a little bit easier to saddle, because it's not as if you have spent 60 hours building up this guy. And then, you have spent a month with him in the context of this game, roughly, maybe a little longer. But it's like you have not had him for very long in your party, spending time with him, but it is long enough to get to know him.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. It's a really, really phenomenal scene. We have a bunch of comments and some thoughts about it that I'll read after we finish out the week, just to see where it lands. But I love that it does that. And love Shinji. It wrenches the heart. 2 times in, though.
It does.
It's so fantastically done.
It's all very melodramatic, but all of the stakes tie in really nicely. The developments, the reveals tie in really nicely.
Yeah.
It is a very well constructed confrontation between Ken and Shinji. It's a very well constructed conversation as Takaya comes in and screws things up. It is very, very, all of that is, the melodrama aside, incredibly well written and constructed, and leaves Ken in an incredibly interesting spot going forward to me.
Yes. Yeah. I think, to your point, the fact that it gives these characters really something to reckon with is such a nice addition to the story here.
Let's talk about the 5th. Let's finish this day
And so,
up.
we get to October 5th. We got to go to school today.
Yesterday, I wrote the quote down exactly. Yesterday was a terrible tragedy. However, I must still go to school.
Yeah, it's
brutal.
Really rough. And it's weird because obviously people know that he died, because as we get to school, we realize there is a memorial going on for Shinji.
Right, because he was technically a student.
Yes. The principal is giving a eulogy sort of at this funeral in the auditorium. He's going on and talking about him a little bit. We get some jerks annoyed about this whole thing because they're like, I don't even know who this guy was. Like, he barely went to school, whatever. And their Junpei freaks out at these kids for being jerks.
Yeah.
He gets so mad at them. We also notice that Akihiko isn't around at this funeral. So after the funeral ends, Mitsuru comes to our class afterward. We're all sitting around the group of our classroom asks us to meet later in the lounge later in that day. But before we get there, yes?
Says, you guys all know what it's about. And I went, yeah, we got to talk about our party member who just died. And she's like, oh, yeah, Ken. And I was like, wait, what?
Same. I had that same reaction first time.
They really, this is a complaint I have about this day. We talk a lot about big things happening in the game and then them just sort of not spending much time on it. I was really surprised to hear that the big thing we have to talk about the day after Shinji died is what are we doing with Ken? Figure we would have taken a day to mourn.
Yeah, you would think, but we do have this kid who's freaking out, and we'll get there in a second.
Yes.
But before
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do,
yeah.
Akihiko goes to the sort of funeral area at the auditorium in private, is talking directly to Shinji very emotionally at memorial on stage. He's lamenting kind of about their past, about how he would always try to go run off and get stronger because he thought he could protect everyone after what happened to Miki. But he's gone too far and he breaks down. He has this traumatic realization and understanding of what he's been doing in his life and what that running away has meant. And there's a change within him, and a resolution has led him to awaken a new persona.
Yeah.
So he has...
Caesar.
Yes. He's got Caesar and a new theurgy as
Wild design. Mm-hmm. Such a cool design.
Yeah.
This giant person that has a little person in a chair in their chest. Love it.
Yeah, it's a real good one. And he gets this really dramatic revelation of his life, and we cut to the dorm.
Yeah, this is a really good scene, though. It's very sad, because
Yes.
this was his brother, basically, and he's talking to him like he's still alive. He's like he's having a conversation with him.
Yeah.
It's just really... I'm glad that this moment was here, because if it was not, and then we jumped into that conversation about Ken, I'd be like, really, what is going on here? Why are we not addressing Shinji?
No,
Yeah, I'm glad they gave Akihiko a moment to address the fact that both of his siblings have died.
Yes, yeah. To your point, it would feel really rough if there wasn't at least a little acknowledgement of it, and I'm glad that it does come from the person who was obviously closest to him in all of this.
Yeah.
So we get that, but then we do get back to the dorm, and everyone is trying to figure out what to do with Ken.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Ken? So we're going to figure that out, and Aigis goes to get him, and as she does...
Everyone blames themselves, pretty much.
Yeah.
Fuka blames herself for not saying anything about Shinji not being there. Mitsuru blames herself for not realizing about the date thing. Junpei blames himself for not taking things seriously enough. Like, everyone is just really broken up about this.
Everyone's really down. It's a real bummer. And we realize also that Ken is not in his room. The window was pried open again.
Yeah.
So we're going to go search for him, obviously. That's the thing to do. And Akihiko's like, no, give him his grace. Give him his space. Let him do what he needs to do and figure it out. It's a little bit on him to want to do with his life what he seeks at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Fuka is really fired up, which I think is interesting about going to protect her, or to find Ken.
Yes.
And Akihiko basically makes the good point of, if he doesn't want to be here and we drag him back here, he's just going to break out again, right? That won't solve the thing. We gotta let him have his moment about this. And he's going through this, Akihiko's going through it probably the worst, maybe, but Ken is probably the most confused by everything.
Yeah. No, it's a rough moment for everyone, but I do appreciate his take here. And then you get a free evening.
You know what? This is the funniest moment I've had in this video game so far. Heavy conversation. Ken is missing. Fuka's yelling at Yukari. Shinji is dead. This scene ends, and with no lead-in or ceremony whatsoever, come to think of it, those crops I planted on the roof are done.
What amazing timing for you. Oh my God.
Incredible.
That is so good. Oh,
It was so funny that was the first pop-up, is you have this deep conversation and then your character's like, oh yeah, my tomatoes.
I got some beans on the roof. Let me go grab those.
God, that was funny.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So
That's
I
so
did what I assume every sane human being did at this evening, which is, man, just take a walk with the dog.
Yes, I did as well. And Aigis comes along with you, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has this little conversation about spirits, about how there's a period in the year where spirits come back, and she starts to wonder about what a spirit is, if it can exist without the body, and does that mean that Shinji is a spirit now? And right as you're about to get into this really sweet, cool conversation about discussing the spirit with a robot, the dog is like, look, I brought you some incense, and then you go home.
And that's the night.
Yeah, it's a really sweet moment, though, to watch Aigis try to process death in her own way.
Yeah.
And I wish it's exactly the type of conversation that I wish we sort of got a little bit more with everybody else. Because the only person, even when you're talking around the lounge after that meeting, the only person that really is talking about Shinji is Junpei. And he's talking about Shinji in the context of, like, his last words, which was, this is the way it should be, which they also talk about in the meeting, right? Of Shinji being at peace with his death and very confident in the choices he had made, smiling in the face of death, Akihiko says. And Junpei is focused on that part of it. And then everybody else is just talking about Ken. Again, it's just very surprising to me kind of how much they moved on from Shinji, how quickly they did that. And I'm sure they'll bring it up more and we'll talk about it more, especially once they find Ken or whatever happens there. But yeah, they go from Shinji to Ken very, very quickly. And then it's nice to have this moment with Aigis thinking about the human spirit.
Yeah, we're in that awkwardness of, like, the show interfering with your experience of the game, because to your point, you can't know, at least right in this moment, if they keep talking about Shinji or if it all goes to Ken or if something else, because that is the nature of what we're doing here. But to your point, it's I do really appreciate, as you said earlier, that we have this moment, at least with Akihiko earlier in the day, to help sell it a little bit. But that is our week.
That is the week. It's done.
And we've experienced trauma, and next week, October 6th through the 12th, is the current plan.
Yes.
I will say we are talking a little bit about what this month is going to look like, and we're figuring it out a little bit on the fly due to some outages on our end, and also this month having a real big chunk of exams that's just going to take up a big amount of time.
Yeah, and the exams, conveniently, are timed to when I am personally out of town for a week. So what we're thinking we might do is tack, like, a larger Q&A like we usually do on exam weeks, like either onto the end of next week's episode, or maybe then skip the exam week, or maybe do the opposite where we'll tack that week onto the week after it. We'll let you know for sure, but we're gonna probably be missing a week and doing an extended episode or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
in the future.
Yeah, there will be a skipped week is the long and short of it, but we'll include it in another week. So stay tuned. We'll make sure to telegraph that so it's clear when you go into an episode. You're not surprised halfway through. We got a ton of very thoughtful, but obviously a bit longer thoughts about Shinji's passing and this sequence. We'll take a few of those comments then, of everyone jumping in to what happened with this full moon. I'll start off with Shade. They said, in my opinion, Shinjiro's death truly shows the brilliance of Persona structure and mechanics as a way to tell a story. I distinctly remember a night where I chose to watch TV with Yukari rather than cook with Shinji, and then he died, and I did not get to see the end of that little story. I'm not just sad he is gone, I regret not making the most of the short time I did have with him. That feeling of regret over the moments lost is such an integral part of grief, and that P3 was able to invoke it in me is the greatest compliment I could ever give it as a piece of art. And I think that's a great thing. Obviously, you and I spent that time with him. We did invest in those moments. But yeah, there is a chance where you just go, I'll finish that storyline after this full moon.
Yeah.
And you don't get to.
Yeah. No, that is a very good point. And, I think that's sort of similar to what I was talking about earlier of, like, when a game can tie mechanics into message, not in a super ham-fisted way, I think it's even more evocative and effective. And that's a really good example of why I loved Celeste so much. This is a very different type of game, but that game's whole idea was about overcoming struggles and your self-doubt. And then mechanically, that's exactly what you were doing, trying to get through these screens that were incredibly hard. And so literally climbing a mountain in that way. And I think you just said the call out from Shade is a really good example of that. It is literally making you feel loss by not having this thing that you or missing time, so that's that's always very, very effective, and it's a really good observation.
Yeah, absolutely. A quick back-to-back of Francis and Mark, who are talking about a similar thing going on here. Francis mentioned, I did not see this coming in my first playthrough, and on my third playthrough, if I had to nitpick, I think Mitsuru and Aki are kind of at fault, as they should have mentioned the issue to the team. It is essentially a ticking time bomb, as Ken has been anxious for a whole week. Akihiko leaving first without telling the team is also a questionable decision. I get that they are teens, but I still think that this is avoidable. And then just to double up with that, Mark said, I had similar feelings about them not filling in the team the first time I played Portable. Logically, it doesn't quite add up. Thematically, though, I think it makes sense. Mitsuru has trouble confiding in people. Akihiko is laser focused on training and the mission. And generally, everyone is sort of stuck in their own heads at this point in the story. Plus, they are high school students, so I can't be too hard on them. And I kind of get both sides there.
The other missing piece of that puzzle is that they didn't know Ken knew.
Yeah.
Right? As far as they were aware, they thought Ken thought that his mom died in a car accident, because that was the official story.
Yeah.
Only Ken knew that he witnessed what actually happened.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it is irresponsible of Akihiko, and especially Mitsuru, for, not monitoring their relationship more closely, given, even not for Ken's sake, if they didn't know he knew. How does Shinji feel about I know he chose to come, but wouldn't he be weird or affected by living in the same house as the person whose mom he killed, right? That is, I agree that there's some logical leap there that is unfortunate and video gamey. Yeah. But I also think you're the point about, Mitsuru is focused on a lot of stuff right now, and Akihiko admits in his talk with Shinji that he gets too focused. He was too focused on just getting stronger, right?
Yeah,
and there's a lot of conflicting motivation there too.
Absolutely, and just the truthful nature that a lot of humans are often selfishly thinking about their lives other than what is going on in everyone else's. That doesn't make it wrong, but that's just the reality. You are your main character, and so it is easy to forget to be like, hey, I should fill everyone in. So I very much get both angles there.
Yeah.
Just to wrap things up, Damon said, I did not expect this to happen. I feel like we just got Shinji to actually join the team, and to think I just wasted 100,000 yen on upgrading his gear too. I'm really blown away that they did this and had the guts to actually stick with it, instead of pulling we took him to the hospital, his vitals are weak, but we think he'll pull through sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which it could have gone there. I could have very much seen that. So just to cap it off, my question is, everything else aside, do you like that they actually did it? Did it seem too soon to you, or does that sort of add to the tragedy of it all? So any final thoughts just as we head out for this week?
It does feel sooner than I would have expected. I think the respect I have for them doing that so soon, and so soon after you get him, in a way that feels earned, if that makes sense. That doesn't feel just like, oh, he fell down an elevator shaft, right? It's not that. It is a thing that they have been building towards in a very real way, in a lot of different ways. So it feels earned that he would die this soon, and just story-wise, I wasn't expecting it to be this soon. So I respect that they did it. I do think that I would have wanted him to stick around longer, but making me feel that way is part of the success of them doing it. So
exactly.
Yeah. And I agree. 100% expected him to sacrifice himself for the team at some point in this game.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't expect it to be this way.
No, absolutely. And just to cap that off, Kyuya mentioned just an interesting thing that I think is important to note here. They said, I personally really like what Atlas did in Reload with these linked episodes, because in the original P3 and FES, you don't get any of those sequences. Our interaction with him was only through some dialogues if we decided to talk with him. And though in P3P, he does have a social link with the female main character, you do learn more about him, but it wasn't, in their opinion, as engaging as Reload. So we do get a really great opportunity to know and love this guy.
I agree. It made me much closer to him and Ken. I will say, I think they made a mistake by having him tell you that he's going to die.
I get that.
I think that they should have left that off, because there were enough hints that something was going on. And the fact that I knew he was going to die definitively made me expect that he was going to die in game at some point more. And I think it did weaken the actual death.
I get that.
Because when he got shot, I went, oh, this is where he dies, rather than, being shocked it was happening at all, I guess is the way I would explain it.
That's
like,
fair.
I think it would have, I think it was still effective, but I think it would have been a huge shock if I only found out he was already going to die right before he did.
Yeah, I get that. If we found out in the same way Ken found out, that would really, pull the rug out from under you. I totally understand that.
So I think those Link things were largely on the whole a benefit, a positive, but yeah, I do think that they maybe overstepped very slightly by having him reveal that.
I understand that. Regardless, an incredibly emotional week for all of us. A rough one. I will say I think the thing that strongest hits me, like when I think of the scene, is Ken crying out and Koromaru howling with him as the night turns over is just like really stuck in my brain. It's a tough moment. But
the thing that's stuck in my brain is Ken being like, if you were going to die, why am I doing any of this?
That one,
like that as an emotional response is shattering to me.
It's devastating.
It really shows you how just desperate and all he wanted to live for was this, and now it's gone, and it didn't even matter. That's really devastating to me.
It's a lot. I really came to appreciate even more what the character work they do with Ken in the sequence on my second playthrough. It's powerful.
Yeah. And now I'm excited for Ken to be an actual character. Because before, he was just sort of this hidden little thing, this time bomb you knew was going to go off at some point, and wasn't really actually developing because he was up in his room all the time. And now I want him to actually be a character.
Well, and now that the moment's been taken away from him that he planned for, what does he do?
Exactly.
We'll find out in the future of this game as we continue to play, because that is our week. Again, October 6th through the 12th will be next week's episode, or maybe the exam week on that too. We'll keep you updated as we go along. But before we get there, Tom, what's your pop quiz for this week?
Pop quiz. No, I've got a lighthearted one because I felt like we needed lighthearted stuff. And I know this is similar to last week, but Junpei keeps delivering in his little side conversations. You can have a side conversation with him on October 1st.
Yeah.
Where he describes Strega without Chidori, and he has a metaphor. He says Strega without Chidori is like such and such without such and such. And I would love to know, this is like one of the most insane things I think he's ever said, but also I would love to know what you do or do not think he said in that comparison. What is Strega without Chidori like? The hint for the real answer for those who want to go after it is that it has to do with sports equipment.
Of course.
And I will accept any and all answers.
Well, give us your real or fake metaphors. And maybe make them re-Fantazio while you're at it. I'll leave now. And you can write into us over at youtube.com/Dornology, at Dornology@gmail.com. On socials, I'm at JM Dornbush and Tom is at Tom R. Marks. Or you can leave those also over at patreon.com/takeyourtime, where you can also get episodes early, ad-free, all our bonus episodes, all the fun of a wonderful, awesome community commiserating over moments like this. It is really wonderful to see, I think, how much reaction there was. I appreciate it so much. And yeah, we'll have more to discuss as the game goes on, but that's going to pretty much do us for this week's episode. So Tom, thank you so much as always for joining me.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm alive to do it.
Me too.
That wasn't a Shinji thing. That was because I've had a fever.
No, that's fair. Well, I am saddened that we've lost Shinji this week, but I am happy that you are hopefully on the up and up when it comes to your health. And until next week,
Here's hoping.
we hope you seize the day. Goodbye, everyone.